Greetings, everyone. So today I'm going to be presenting on Otrice. It's a Kali tool. So we did a little description here, project description presentation. So for the tool introduction, Otrice is basically an important Kali tool that was recently actually developed as a shell script. So Otrice.sh was written by Michael Zalowski as a reconnaissance tool. In case a successful scan has been conducted, Otrice actually provides additional servers that are essential for penetration testing. So it provides even more information than just an application that really does a successful scan. Additionally, the tool provides a list of the HP hops performed when connecting to a network. So it's almost like an added bonus here with a list of the IP hops. Also, there are some security functions for Otrice. So basically, Otrice.sh is a firewall bypassing tool that enables hop enumeration. So traceroute. The most common function of Otrice is to perform penetration testing as done by other network reconnaissance tools. So basically, it is used to perform penetration testing like other reconnaissance tools. Its operations are within established TCP connections. So that's the type of connection. Also sessions such as HTTP, SMTP. It is unlike sending stray packets as done by traceroute type tools. The target users for this tool are pen testers. So basically anyone trying to penetrate a system in any sort of way. And security professionals, which would actually use it for good, such as penetrating to a system to explore the vulnerabilities. So basically like an ethical hacker or anyone trying to get an edge on a system. That's what it's designed for. The importance of use for this tool is basically network reconnaissance is the first and among the most important steps in ethical hacking attempts. Performing network reconnaissance on a system actually enables an ethical hacker to learn the details of the network and also potential attack vectors. And basically that's the core of network reconnaissance things where really like different types of network reconnaissance that use it is basically these types of details of the network and potential attack vectors. The reconnaissance can also be either active or passive. Active reconnaissance collects information. Collecting information is more important than remaining subtle. So basically just trying to get as much information as possible with really like brute force into the network. So you're gonna see a reaction from the network, which it might try to stop you, or you're just more going through and you want the network to know. And passive reconnaissance is when you're collecting data subtly, where the system or the IP address or the website doesn't know that you're collecting it. So it's where subtlety is a priority. So you're basically capturing as much data as you can, but you're doing it subtly. So without any interference of the system knowing they're collecting this passive reconnaissance. So these are the two types of active reconnaissance and passive reconnaissance. These are very important terms. In the Otrice installation, to install Otrice, the following commands are run on Kali. So mkdir -p pentest enumeration, the CD data source, the wget with the URL, the tara-xf otrice.tgc. So this is the other command, and then this command where you're going to test it to see if it works. So if it goes through, you're all good. If it doesn't, you might have to download maybe one of these again or just like restart Kali and figure out what's wrong with your system. So you definitely need to look into it if this doesn't successfully run. So you probably have a pretty grave issue where you need to address it. So now I'm going to go into some screenshots that I've collected from my tests that I've done in Kali on this tool. So here we have the mkdir one, the C data source. So they all went through. the we see it went through because we get this 200, which is a code, and then we got the OK statement. So the OK statement's returned, so it was successful. If you got any other statement back, you might have to maybe try again because that probably means that there's something wrong, so it didn't work correctly in that way. So we get the length of the file, the bytes pretty much saving to otrice.tgz, otrice.tgz, here's the date I did it, and it was saved. So we're all good there. So definitely use it. Here's the tar, the XF one, it actually submitted, trace.tgz-c pen test enumeration. It did submit, so that's good. This submitted once we did this combination, the cd-pen test enumeration -0 trace. Let's see. I first tried to do it without downloading any more information, but we had to install also. So I believe it's like apt install Otrice. So that's the command you would actually want, apt install Otrice. Or you can do it this way where you say yes, and then it reads it in, and then it's going to successfully installed. So it said one newly installed, so you're good. So it worked. And then if the apt, it says something similar where one newly installed, 0 upgraded, probably 0 removed, and 0 not upgraded. That's pretty standard. And then in this case, you can look up any website, but it's usually on a website. So I chose to do nclookup.cnn.com because you have to get some more information. So we have the server address, we have the address, we have the non-authoritative answers. This is what we're going to use for this lab. So the one I'm going to pay attention to in this lab is 151.101.19.67. These are MAC addresses. You probably don't want to use these, but it's just good to know. It's a MAC address, a specific type of address. You don't really need in this case because it will ask for an IP address, but you can probably still figure out how to use a MAC address. Or just if you're curious. So this is the one I'm using right here, and these three are three others you can possibly use if desired. And also in this lookup can be used for other purposes, but this was the purpose for this sub, they'll use it here, obviously. Here we did a trace route on the one I said I was going to use, the 151.101.6.67. So we did a trace route to it. We got 30 hops max. We got the 10.0.2.1 in this seconds. And this is the only one it captured. The rest of them have firewalls. So you can see it's out of 30. So basically 29 of them have firewalls. So we couldn't really pick up any data from there. At least we were able to get one. So the 10.0.2.1 is one of the networks being on this IP address. So at least we got one here. So that's nice. You might get more depending on what site you're using or just, I guess, pure luck of being able to pick up more of these. But standardly, you're probably not going to pick up that many of these usually as firewalls or protections. The trace routes usually not going to pick up too much, but depending on the site you use, you can always be, I guess, lucky in that case. And here we go. So here's the main function we're going to use for this lab, at least in order to introduce it. So the -user-bin-geotrace.sh, we know that it uses an iFace, which is what you're using. So it could be a LAN, what network you're using. So an iNet, an Ether0, which is your Ethernet, and then target IP, which is your IP address, and the target port, which is the port. It's usually 80 though, because that's the one you're usually communicating between different source destination, source / destination addresses. So the target port is very important in this case. You don't want to put a random port. You probably want to put 80, unless there's another port you might know that might work. And here we go. Use user-bin-geotrace.sh on the Ethernet. We got this IP address right here, the 151.101.129.67. That was one of them in the NS lookup. And we're doing on port 80. So waiting for traffic on the Ethernet. We got traffic acquired, waiting for a gap. Target acquired 10.0.15 48692. to 151.101.192.6780. It's setting up a sniffer. It's also setting up probes. Stack session detected. It's terminated. It didn't pick up anything that's traced, but usually if it would be displayed down here. But luckily, a target was reached, so we were at least able to reach the target. So that's good. But you might be able to pick up information depending on which cable what iFace you're using, and also which target IP you're using and which port you're using. So it's very important to make sure it's a good balance, to make sure you can get as much data as you can from this tool. In this case, I attempted to do it on the low one, and I wasn't able to get anything in this case, but maybe if you try you configure it correctly, you might be able to get some data from the low, or maybe a LAN or Ethernet like mine, or maybe another one like iNet. So it's definitely, you just need to be a little more exploitative there, but yeah, that's a decent introduction for at least be able to install Otrice. So hopefully you guys are able to use it correctly. If there's any questions, you can always reach out. But yeah.
Second half of this presentation. Justifications for use. Otrice provides both passive and active reconnaissance by ensuring that the sufficient data is collected while also remaining subtle in operations. The greatest advantage associated with Otrice is that the source code is available free of charge. The tool also provides a wider scope of information compared to the conventional traceroute tools. It gives additional data about the connection and its firewall, hence it offers a deeper level of penetration testing. The pen tester using Otrice is also able to stay off the radar of a firewall while using an established connection. Traffic is allowed through many stateful firewalls and defenses without any further inspections. Possible substitutes for Otrice. Various other network reconnaissance tools that could be selected instead of Otrice exist, including Wireshark, which provides passive reconnaissance capabilities. It also acts as a network traffic analysis tool. VirusTotal, which provides analysis of potentially malicious files. Nmap, the most popular active network reconnaissance tool. Nessus, a commercial vulnerability scanner offered as a payable service. Metasploit, an exploitation toolkit that can work as a passive reconnaissance tool. Conclusion and recommendations. Otrice is recommended for use in penetration testing for potentially vulnerable networks. The tool can be effective when the objective is to determine the areas of vulnerability and provide information on the features of those vulnerabilities, including their IP addresses. The ease of availability makes it even more necessary to choose Otrice over other network reconnaissance tools. The source code availability also makes Otrice portable. And finally, here are the references.